everyone. Welcome to our panel on electrifying everything. I see some familiar faces, so that's always nice. We'll be covering electrifying everything from scooters to RVs and everything in between. I'm your moderator, Jaclyn Trop. I'm a freelance automotive journalist for a lot of different magazines, and today on our panel we have Josh Hermes, Vice President of Off-Road Electric Vehicles at Polaris, Ben Parker, co-founder and chief product officer at Lightship RV, Greg Ethridge, chief financial officer at Canoe, and Joseph Constanty, director of global strategy and corporate development at New. We know that there are plenty of reasons for electrification, from lower operating costs to environmental sustainability, so let's get started with a question for Josh. Josh, Polaris has been making snowmobiles and power sports vehicles for 70 years. Last year, the company launched an all-electric side-by-side off-roader called the Ranger XP Kinetic. Why go electric, and what has been the consumer response so far?
Yeah, great question. So we've actually had electric vehicles in our off-road lineup for more than a decade, going back to the Ranger EV in 2010, and now our latest model, the Ranger XP Kinetic. And so this is not new to us. And if you look at the history of the company, we've really been focused on how do we leverage new technology to deliver innovative product solutions that help our customers enjoy their outdoor experiences more, to provide a better outdoor experience. And we really see electrification as just the latest way that we're doing that. So when we looked at where can we add the most value for our customers, it's really with our utility customer. So these are people that are farmers, ranchers, hunters, large property owners. They're really using the product for hauling people, gear, tools, equipment, materials on or around the property. They tend to be traveling shorter distances. They've got easy access to charging, and so really for these customers, electric delivers more of the benefits that they value. Things like quieter operation, more durability, more performance, more capability, no fumes. So we really see the utility customer within our portfolio as a great use case for this. They also tend to not be as impacted by things like range, charge time, just because they're using the vehicle on or around the property.
Well, what is the charging infrastructure like? How and where do you see customers actually charging it when they're so far off the grid from the charging network?
Absolutely. Well, and again, that's why the utility customer for us is really a great use case for electrification. These are people that tend to be operating more around the property, the farm, the ranch. So they've got easy access to charging, and we wanted to make that charging as convenient as possible because we know that's a key consideration for purchasing an electric vehicle. So the vehicle comes with a combo level 1, level 2 charger. You can plug it right into a 120 volt, 240 volt outlet. And on level 2 charging, it charges as fast as 5 hours. So if you think about a farmer, they can be in the vehicle all day, plug it in overnight, vehicle's ready to go the next morning. So it's really a great use case for it. Now, we know for more recreational uses, charging's more of a challenge. If you're out and you want to go on a trail ride all day, maybe 100 plus miles, we know that can be difficult for those use cases. So as you know, we actually recently partnered with the state of Michigan to develop an off-road trail charging network, which supports about 100 miles of trails in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So not only a great opportunity to support outdoor recreation within the state of Michigan, but a really good opportunity for us to learn more about the use case of recreation and electric vehicles. So again, as we looked at it and we looked at where we could deliver the most value for customers, ultimately, it's the utility customer.
And yes, I will be experiencing that for myself next week in the Upper Peninsula, and I will be able to see for myself how far these side-by-sides can go on electric. Ben, at Lightship RV, you've created a very futuristic-looking trailer with an electric propulsion system and about 300 miles of range on the highway. If you haven't seen it for yourself, look it up on the website. It's very cool looking. But can you tell us about how users can charge off the grid and how weight and the terrain traveled actually affects the real world range?
Yeah, sure. Nice to see y'all and you all out there. I was just thinking, Josh, I think there's an interesting pairing between our products because I think a lot of the people who are using your, let's say, side-by-sides, for instance, are going to go out for a day in their side-by-side, have fun, and then come back to our trailer, and we'll be able to recharge those vehicles off of our trailer. So Lightship is an electric RV manufacturer, one of the first. We service RVing is a surprisingly large market. It's about a 500,000 vehicle market in the U.S. Amazingly, 1 in 10 American families owns an RV, and so this is an awesome place for the expansion of electrification. It is a trailer like no other. The bones of this thing, apart from it being a very sleek, modern design, are a roof that is covered in solar, a kind of modern living space on the inside, and then a skateboard platform that is an EV platform, and those 3 pieces work really well together to make for a good camping experience. You asked about charging. You can probably get a sense of how one would charge it from what I'm describing there. You can charge it like any other EV, so you can level 1, 2, or level 3 fast charge the vehicle. One thing that's pretty unique about having a very large EV is that you have a lot of roof area, and so we use all of that roof area to integrate PV, solar, into the roof. We have about 2,000 watts of solar in the fixed portion of the roof, which for comparison point means that if you're out camping, typically you're not able to run something like an air conditioner all day. In our case, if the sun is shining, all of the energy that you're getting from the sun is enough to run something like an air conditioner throughout the day. And actually, when we go to shows like this with our prototypes, typically you end the day with more energy than you started, even as we run the AC all day. So I think the point is that there are many ways to charge a vehicle like this. And one thing that we love about working on RVing with electrification in particular is that we talk about amongst ourselves that destination charging is sort of built into the experience. There have been 240-volt plugs at most RV campgrounds in America for decades at this point, and so if you're staying at an RV campground, there's a very good chance that you have the energy or the power available to start the next day with a full charge and keep going on your trip.
Now, when we spoke, I was really surprised to hear that 1 in 10 households has an RV.
Yeah.
So that's a huge market, and I know that you did a lot of test market research during COVID and hit the ground and logged many miles. Why is it beneficial for these EV owners to go electric?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what you're alluding to is that some of the origins of Lightship were, my co-founder and I were both at Tesla. He ran the finance team there for a number of years. I was a battery engineer on the Model 3 and the Cybertruck battery. Shortly after or really right as I left Tesla around the time that COVID started, I rented about a 30-foot Winnebago motorhome, and I did a 6,000-mile, 3-month RV road trip of the whole West, and that really helped get me going on it. It was probably the most fun summer I've ever had, and I remember I talked to tons of people then and after who are deep in RVing, and one thing that stuck out to me was you'll be hard pressed to find an RVer who really loves their gas generator and sort of ripping it up at a campground and disturbing a lot of the other campers in the area. And so if you can go from gas or propane gensets, carbon monoxide sensors, older 12-volt batteries, all the technology that has run RVs for a while, to a single, clean, seamless, large electric fuel source, let's say, and one that you can replenish through the sun if you're camping somewhere off grid, which a lot of our users will. That is a sea change. It's sort of only better. On the much has been made of range anxiety, and I think a beautiful thing about doing a towable RV is that people, you don't need to be an early adopter of an EV truck to have a great experience with something like a light ship. You can choose to keep using your gas or your diesel tow vehicle, and in our case, it's a self-propelling trailer, meaning we put a motor on board that helps the trailer propel itself so that the truck doesn't feel the weight of the trailer as it's going down the road and thus doesn't lose any range. So if you want to go a generation further with a traditional truck, you're just going to get great gas mileage out of that. And if you are an early adopter of an EV truck, now we can offer you the preservation of your range. So your 300-mile EV truck doesn't get degraded to a 100-mile truck when you're towing. You're back up to your full 300. So we think it's a nice transition into electrification for a lot of people. It's not pushing it faster than it should be, you know.
Excellent. Maybe it'll be ready for a summer vacation next year.
Oh, yeah.
2025.
I know I am. I do a lot of trailering, as you might expect.
Greg, Canoo is a really interesting company. I covered it pretty regularly when I was at TechCrunch a couple of years ago. And initially, the company was focused on building EVs for consumers and then pivoted to developing EVs for fleets from Walmart to the US government. What's the economic case for these companies that have fleets for going electric?
Sure, thanks. Great to be here and on the panel and have a chance to have this discussion with the team. So I think when we step back, and I think I'm the only company here representing really, as you said, kind of commercial, government, military use cases, and all largely on road, right? So completely different regulatory environment, requirements to make sure we have vehicles that are street legal. When we think about the market, right, we're clearly past, and we are very excited that the likes of Elon and Tesla kind of blazed the path to bring electric to the consumer first. But the bigger piece of the pie, and from an ESG perspective, from a carbon focus perspective, is really fleets, and that could be government, it can be commercial, et cetera. And it's not just the sustainability piece, right, but the economics are superior. The reason that's the case is, for those use cases, fleet use cases, they're largely route-based applications. You don't have the same kind of range anxiety issues that you do on the consumer side. And you can size your vehicle and your battery to be able to meet those use cases very specifically. And then on top of all of that, so there's the benefit on the purchase side, there's also the operating cost side. So operating costs for electric on-road versus internal combustion is pretty meaningful, like multiples cheaper. And when you start thinking about fleets of whether it's 500,000, 10,000, 200,000 for the postal service, for example, that translates into a lot of dollars. So when you're trying to be competitive in the world of last mile delivery, route-based deliveries, et cetera, those savings really contribute to the bottom line, and that, we believe, is the primary driver for electric applications and fleets, and then the secondary piece becomes the sustainability driver. So it is very powerful, and it's actually, in my view, and our view at Canoo, the fleet benefits are just wildly superior to the consumer benefits. Consumers, you feel good driving electric. I drive electric, but I know that when 100,000 or 200,000 postal service workers are driving electric, that's actually making a huge benefit across the board for the planet.
So you have contracts with NASA, the US military, now the Postal Service with the pilot in Atlanta. What is it actually like working with the government toward electrification versus the consumer market?
Yeah, that's a good question also. I mean, I think when we think about the sales cycle of large fleets, whether it be government or commercial fleet, it's just a longer sales cycle process. So you have very sophisticated counterparties. They are looking at their economics on their side. They need it for a very specific use case. They may have an upfitting requirement, based on whether it be last mile delivery or mail delivery or what have you. So we're in the business of designing solutions for those customers. So typically, as I mentioned, with that sophisticated buyer, it takes, it could take a 6 to 12 month time frame to go through first to make sure we have the right specifications for their needs, then to do an initial pilot or test case. In the case of Walmart, we've done over 5,000 door-to-door deliveries with them in 2 different test cases on both of our vehicles. That translates into over 10,000 miles. For the military, we've done over 10,000 miles with them on the test case in the U.S. Army. So I think when you really think about the market that we're attacking, you're selling a couple of vehicles to Postal Service that then translates into a lot more vehicles, right? Hopefully tens of thousands of vehicles over time. And then you're only dealing with that one counterparty, and the economics are very powerful for both them and for us, not having to have such an extensive sales force and attacking much smaller individual customers. And that's just been the way we've thought about our business is we want to be able to sell thousands of units to individual customers, be able to take the benefit of those customers and extrapolate it. You are seeing those benefits in the UK now as we've been testing some large fleet buyers there as well. And it's just really exciting to see the power of the product and starting to gain traction.
Now we come to our last panelist from New, which was a company that was actually new to me until I started researching for this panel. Joseph, you've lived in China for more than 15 years. Now you're based in Dubai, and you've been opening markets for your company's electric mopeds, motorcycles, e-bikes in more than 50 countries across 6 continents. What lessons have you learned that can be applied to the market in the U.S.?
Well, thank you for throwing me up a softball to hit there. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Most people probably in the audience, like yourself, they don't know about New. Just to give you a little bit of frame of reference, if Tesla and Vespa had a baby, that would be our core product. Okay. After that, besides electric mopeds, we make electric kick scooters, bikes, motorcycles. We probably produce ballpark 1 million vehicles a year. Since our founding about 8-9 years ago, we've clocked over 23 billion kilometers of connected riding kilometers across the world. So I think we're only like 2nd or 3rd place to Tesla and BYD in terms of connected miles globally. So that gives you a little bit of perspective. And we're a NASDAQ listed company here in the United States. So I just want to give a little bit of perspective. Having built the overseas team over the past almost decade now, we first entered into Europe, and what you can take away from, say, 6, 7, 8 years ago is timing. I remember the days where I had to beg journalists just to hand them the keys to take a test drive of one of our electric vehicles. In Germany, in France, in very advanced EV, green-friendly types of places. They were refusing to take the keys. I had to beg them. And when they came back, they absolutely enjoyed it. And so timing, I think we're still at the bleeding edge of adoption of EV, especially in form factors that are not passenger vehicles, to be honest with you. So everyone up here, we're still probably a good 5 to 10 years away from mass adoption of our products. Secondly is product market fit. We tried just to push our electric mopeds into Europe and Southeast Asia and elsewhere, but what we learned is very quickly is even in Europe, people were moving away from their mopeds and motorcycles and moving to electric bikes and electric scooters inside cities for easier transportation. It was cheaper, it was faster, and a handful of different things. So we had to actually pivot very quickly for those markets and start developing kick scooters and e-bikes and other products to fit that market. And then lastly is don't rely on the government, when they put together any kind of rebate schemes and others. The reason being is I can give you an example. In Italy, 30% discount for any of our products at the point of sale, but still when our products are superior to petrol, people are moving towards petrol still today in Italy, in Germany, in France, and elsewhere. So there's still this lack of willingness to adopt EV, especially in two-wheel dominated markets. So that gives you kind of a picture as to timing, product market fit, and government.
You've said that China is a great case study for the electrification of everything. We have just about 1 minute left. What are 1 or 2 fun facts about China that you can tell us?
Okay, so every year, between 45 and 46 million electric mopeds, scooters are sold in China. 43 of those 45 million are lead acid battery. Only 1.5 to 2 million are lithium ion. We dominate that market. So to give you perspective, 44 million new EVs are being put on the road every year in China. They have 350 million registered scooters, mopeds in China right now. Second is buses, which I believe electric two-wheels and electric buses are the way that we get the next billion people into EV. There are over 500,000 electric buses on the road today, growing at anywhere between 15 and 25% a year, every year in China. So China has those big data numbers that we can go on with taxis and others, but those 2 points should hit home.
Amazing. Well, that is our time. Thank you, everyone.